Not all cultures are equal, and you know it. If you had to choose between two rich oil-producing countries, which one would you rather live in, Norway or Saudi Arabia? I guess you would choose Norway, and not because of the weather. So why is it that most of you would probably choose Norway over Saudi Arabia? At the end of the day, you would opt for Norway because of all the freedoms you can enjoy in a Western democracy. Freedom of speech, freedom to be who you are, freedom to be an independent woman. In other words, you would choose Norway because of its values. And that is what this video is about. Something strange has happened in the cultural discourse. Now, you are only allowed to say good things about other people. Why is it that when people talk about other cultures, it always sounds just like the way I talk to my 4-year-old son when he comes home from kindergarten with a drawing? Wow, that is so nice and colorful. Now, let's put it in the bin under the sink. I just don't buy into this. You can criticize any group of people for anything they do. You can criticize me as an Israeli, a Jew, a father, a tour guide, and even as a Britney Spears fan. The main reason some people in the West don't think that some cultures are better than others is that they don't appreciate just how good they have it. They take for granted all the freedom they enjoy, forget the high price that was paid in the past to introduce these values of human rights and democracy, and forget that only a small part of the world populations enjoy these liberties. Let me remind you that if you can go outside to a public place and shout that you hate the government or hate God, you are very, very lucky. Only about 15, no more than 20% of the world's population enjoy that right. Try doing it in a Muslim country. Say that you hate the government or that God doesn't exist. If you are a pro-Palestinian student at a university in the West, I positively encourage you to do it. Another issue that makes it difficult to discuss cultures is the rise of multiculturalism and cultural relativism, according to which you can't say that one culture or one set of values is better than the other. Somehow, the West has confused this with liberalism, even though it is actually the opposite of it when you think about it. I find it very easy to demonstrate how wrong the theories of multiculturalism are. If you are saying that you can't judge other cultures and that no one set of values is better than the other, how can you then at the same time say that you support women's rights or gay rights? Do you know what would happen to a lesbian Muslim girl if she came out of the closet? She would be put in a coffin. Is that wrong? I think it is wrong, and I'm very interested to hear what a multicultural person has to say about the matter. Do you really believe that these cultures' values are equal? Most Arab Muslim countries are not democratic. 0 minorities are flourishing in Muslim countries. Jews, Christians, and Hindus are all disappearing from them. And they have no human rights or women's rights. In Gaza, unmarried women need a man's permission to go outside. Do you think that is okay? The vast majority of the worst countries for the LGBTQ community are Muslim. As a multicultural person, do you think it is okay to imprison and execute gay men and women? Another reason people don't want to talk about values is that it scares them. It affects you in your home in London, Paris, or Berlin. When you watch the news and hear about rockets and bombings in Gaza and Tel Aviv, you might say to yourself, well, that's a shame, but I'm safe here, so they can carry on fighting over the land. The thing is that this conflict is not about the land. I've talked about this in other videos, so check them out. But the moment people in the West realize that this conflict is not about land, but about values, it becomes very scary, since then it suddenly also involves you, even though you live far away from the Middle East. Therefore, people prefer to see it as a conflict about land rather than about values. It feels safer to them. But I'm sorry to say that it's a make-believe safety, because you are next. When it comes to values like democracy, human rights, and freedom of speech, some people in the West want to believe that it is because the Arab Muslim countries are not there yet, that they are still on the path to accepting Western society. This is actually wishful and naive thinking at best, or downright misleading, arrogant, and patronizing thinking at worst. The reason that most Muslim countries are not democratic, even the really rich ones, and the reason that 17 of the 20 worst countries to be gay in are Muslim, is because many of them simply hate the values of the West. So no, it is not because they are not quite there yet. Half of young Muslims in Britain think that homosexuality should be illegal. Thousands of Muslims in Western Europe went to fight for ISIS. Not one crazy dude, not a handful that were part of a cult, but thousands of young Muslims who had been raised in the West. If you are shocked by this, it is because you have been burying your head in the sand for too long. Talking about values, we also have to be able to talk about violence and the acceptance of violence in different cultures. Arab Muslim societies have high levels of violence. Political violence, violence against women, criminality. Let's have a look at the levels of violence in Arab Muslim and Israeli Jewish society. In Israel, the Arab crime rate is more than double that of the Jewish community. You might say that this is due to racism and discrimination, but in the UK, Holland, and France, we find the same statistics. Considering the percentage of the population they represent, Muslims have a way higher crime rate. But you aren't ever allowed to mention that. If there are riots in France or large-scale sexual assault in Germany, it is usually not the fault of the Israeli or Jewish community. Sweden used to be one of the safest places for women, and now, because of immigration from certain countries, that is no longer the case. In your country, and I don't know which country you are watching from, Holland, the UK, Czech Republic, Wisconsin, have you ever heard of a Jew or Israeli attacking a Muslim? Or is it always the other way around? If there are riots or terror attacks, are the attackers Israelis or guys from the Jewish community? Do you need to post guards outside mosques for fear of Jews attacking Muslims? Are the crime rates of the Jews higher than those of the Muslims? You know your country better than I do, so please tell me in the comments below. Which culture is more violent in France, Belgium, Holland, the UK, Italy, Germany, Denmark, Spain, Ireland, Norway, the Arab Muslim community, or the Israeli Jewish community? This video is not looking at the Israeli-Arab conflict directly, but these things are all connected. If Jews and Israelis are not violent in New York and Malmo and Paris and Berlin and London, maybe they're not violent in Israel either. And if the Arab Muslim community is more violent in Paris and London and Malmo, then maybe they are also more violent in Jerusalem. Food for thoughts. It all comes down to values of a society. So no, this war is not about land. It is not about Gaza. It is about values. It is about Western values versus Sharia law. Just have a look at all the countries where Sharia law is implemented. Do you want to live there? Do you want more Sharia law in your country? If we want to prevent this, the most important thing we can do is not be scared of discussing values. We need to normalize discussions about values. Remember to appreciate your freedoms and not take them for granted. Do not tolerate those who hate the core values of democracy and free speech before it is too late. Those who don't like what I'm saying will accuse me of racism and Islamophobia. And to that I say, no. Saying all Muslims are more violent is racism. Saying that levels of violence in Muslim communities, whether in Western Europe or Muslim countries, is higher, is a fact. It might be a fact that makes you feel uncomfortable, but it is still a fact. don't agree? Prove me wrong. Please try to leave an intelligent comment. Share this video and send it to friends who need to see it. And subscribe for more. It really helps. And one last thing. I'm not a Britney Spears fan. I'm a Led Zeppelin fan. And you can't criticize them. They are perfect. I want to thank my supporters. You keep me going. See you next week. Yalla bye.